Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to another session of Living World of Darkness, New York by Night. Um, it's relatively late in the night now. We're getting past midnight certainly, um, and we find three characters after the meeting with the Camarilla walking up the road. You've got Sue from the Tremere walking ahead, and Rick from Clan Gangrel catching up to talk with her. The streets are relatively deserted. Like you said, it's quite late. Malkavian. I don't know why I said Gangrel. Yes, of course, Rick is a Malkavian. And he's currently catching up to Sue with the intentions of talking to her about some business. And that's where we begin our scene. Take it away, guys.
Rick will speed up his pace a little bit to catch up to speaking distance of Sue. Excuse me.
She turns around and looks at the guy who was Rick, she recalled from the meetings, and smiles a little bit and kind of narrows her eyes at him, and she's like, "Can I help you?"
You can, or your clan can. You mentioned warding services that the Tremere could offer.
Yes. Do you have anything particular in mind? Location?
The former Primogen, Calypso, owned a brownstone. Uh, I'd like to get some parts of it warded against various sorts of individuals, if that can be done.
Oh yeah, of course. Have to take a look around, find out any particular nooks and crannies and particular objects that you might want warded. We can do doorknobs, the doors, walls. It can be really specific, or there are also different circles of warding. We can talk about the specifics later, but I assume you want it worded from Kindred?
Well, I'm not aware of what specific wardings you can do. Silas seemed to have a knife that could ward anyone but himself. That would be useful.
Oh yes, I'll have to talk to my associates about particular objects being worded, as I am not particularly experienced in those matters, but we can definitely make something like that happen for you. Do you have any particular objects in mind that you might want worded?
Rick thinks a moment, then shakes his head. Not particular objects, but spaces. It would be easier to show. If you'd like to come by sometime, I could give you the address.
Oh, of course. And I suspect you have some. You would agree to some form of compensation for our services.
Of course.
Sue kind of just smiles at that, and go ahead, Limey.
Oh, I was going to see if you guys wanted to make a couple of perception checks.
Sure. Can you tell me how? Because I'm only 1 month into pen and papers, so.
Oh wow, okay, you're like really new to this then.
Yeah, I'm a super noob.
Awesome, we've all been there. Like most exciting time. Have you got perception and alertness in your skills?
I do. Okay, I see.
And have you got have you got the dice string for this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pick it up. You're using D10s, and it's just a sum total of your perception and alertness.
And what is the difficulty?
It, oh, is that your role then?
Yep.
Uh,
Aspects as well?
It
we
was
ha
perception and alertness.
we would have matched, but the one cancels out your 8, so you haven't noticed him.
Okay.
Um, or unless do you have all specs active, like hearing?
Oh, I could have actually activated that, but I should. Would that have been another couple dice I would have added?
It's generally something you declare, but I mean, if she's the kind of character who would be like, yeah, I want to keep a listen out, like it's like, you know, if she's feeling unsafe or anything like that, then yeah.
Okay. I might activate aspects because she was already followed by one person. So,
Okay, cool, cool.
um, and would that?
Just click another 2 dice, or like plus whatever your Auspex rating would be. Is that an extra dice? I believe.
I have 2 dots and aspects, so.
Rick, you may shed some light on this. I've never had Auspex. What's that? Oh, I was saying Auspex. Does it add dice or reduce the difficulty?
I seem to recall it reducing difficulty by 1.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's the same amount of successes, and he goes unnoticed. But don't worry, he's not like gonna
Okay.
ruin. It's just he's just taking the night air. Um, you guys carry on your conversation. Just pretend I'm not here.
And so this brownstone, I thought earlier you mentioned you gave another building to a particular person of your clan. Are you wanting 2 buildings warded or just a one?
Rick smiles slowly, considering his history with Ebe and the fact that money was stolen and then ruined. No, no, just mine. If he wants his place warded, he can have that done.
Okay. Um, well, yeah, I definitely come have a look at it sometime and find out the possible points of entry. I mean, even windowsills, climbing over something like that, you'd have to touch it. And, so there are a lot of things, and I'll have to work out with my clanmates exactly um, how many things we can do in just one building. Um,
I'm not sure what specifically your wards are capable of, but one thing I do know I would want, there's a basement in the house that I'd like warded so that ghouls can't enter.
oh, yeah, we can do that.
Good.
Um, So you also said that you mentioned a couple times you're new to the city, right?
At this point, somebody steps up behind, and you hear some leather-soled shoes click on the concrete. He walks up behind and says, "Remember, if you're doing favors for each other, don't forget to let the harpy know about Boon's owed, yeah?" And he tilts his hat.
Rick will smile and turn to look at Limey, nodding to him.
Evening, lady,
Sue
gentlemen.
Sue is going to acknowledge Limey and kind of give a polite bow of her head and a charismatic smile. Being that he's the harpy, so she imagines him and she will be doing quite a bit of talking over the next uh, months or years or however long they manage to survive. Um,
Sort of last half the latitude, you got that.
um,
Yeah, Limey smiles back, gives a relatively charismatic smile return, and he's quite charmed by the smile, or it looks that way at least. I couldn't help. Everybody else had already walked ahead. I was never one for walking alone when there's company around. Uh, I noticed you two didn't get to manage to get a word in edgeways really around all the talking that was going on in there, especially around me. Bit of a gobshite.
I spend a lot of my time in books, and I find the easiest way to get things done is to read. So I enjoy reading people. I guess, yeah, you could say I'm not much of a talker.
Oh well. Did you pick up a lot in that meeting, reading people? Do you reckon you sussed a few people out?
I think maybe a few. I definitely have a few people I need to talk to. You know, and your Bruja? Yeah.
That's me. Mitchell Rigby, Clanbridge, Bruger. Yeah. And Tremere, and he looks at Rick and he goes, Gangrel. Malkavian, that's the one.
That's right.
Why do I recognise your name from? Uh, it's your character does have fame, right?
Yes. Um, you might have heard of me before. I'm a writer. I write horror fiction.
Horror fiction. Nice. I'll have to give it a go. It's been a while since I've read a decent bit of trashy horror, man. And he corrects himself. I'm not saying your work's trashy, of course. Uh, it's been a while since I've read some horror.
You might find it enlightening.
Well, I suppose you kind of live it, so I expect it's a little bit more accurate than Twilight. You get me?
Rick laughs and just sort of face palms a little.
Sue is looking Rick up and down, and she's like, just how very fitting.
Um, Listen, like, I know it's getting a bit late, but it's still got hours before the sun comes up. Yeah, do you guys want to catch a drink somewhere? Or, well, lack thereof. Mostly just sit in a corner.
Uh, yeah. I suppose I have a lot of work to do reporting to the Chantry, but why not?
Well, I just thought it would be, good to get to know each other, seeing as, like I said, you guys didn't get to say much earlier.
I've been looking to make more connections for Clan Malkavian. I'd be happy to come along.
Well, no, like, I'm not familiar with this part of town, but there's a nice little bar over here, like, somewhere in that direction. It's quite quiet, so figure, you guys want to follow on?
Yeah, sure. Sue is going to follow after Limey and Rick.
Rick nods and follows the group.
The Yeah, he sort of takes you down sort of a couple of roads. Like it's weirdly they're kind of back roads. Like he sort of veers away from the main roads quite a lot. It takes a relatively twisting route to a small bar. Like it's not like particularly high class, but it's not run down either. Just a quiet little drinking spot. And it's the middle of the week, so there's not too many people. And he steps inside and takes his hat off. And, finds a booth in the corner where he sort of undoes his suit jacket and kind of slopes into the booth and kind of shuffles down into his seat. And sort of waves his hand to sort of be like, "You gonna join me?"
Sue is going to scoot into the booth on one side of Limey and rest her elbows on the table and her chin on her hands and uh, wait for Rick to seat himself.
Rick will take a seat next to the Tremere, sort of subtly interested in the magic that he knows she's capable of.
Sue seems kind of surprised he didn't sit on the other side of Limey, and just just kind of gets comfortable and looks between them both. This actually isn't too bad of a spot here, Limey.
Yeah, I kind of make it my business to know a couple of little night spots around town. Seriously, I mean, I know I've got to move to Harlem now, and I love Harlem, but there's some lovely little spots in Queens. We should hit the town sometime. And I'd say we should hit Brooklyn, but the Sabat kind of know about that one.
Well, I'm from Boston actually, so I really don't know much of I don't know much of New York really.
Ah, you're Boston, nice.
Yeah.
I'm from just outside of Boston, actually.
Oh,
Well,
really?
you two got something in common then. I mean, kind of, are we all sat on the same side of the booth, or is somebody facing across the other side of the table?
I thought she was sitting opposite of you.
Well, okay, so I imagined it being like around like a half moon boost, and I kind of figured Limey scooted into like the middle section.
Oh, in that
But
case, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, yeah. I should have described that more efficiently. Sorry about that.
oh no, that's okay.
But he kind of, sort of goes, well, you two got something in common. Oh, nice. Sort of like raises an eyebrow, sort of like half jokingly, he's sort of messing around a bit. So, I mean, what made you two move over here then? New York's a little bit out of the way.
Yeah, well for me, she looks to Rick, hoping she wasn't cutting him off or anything. And well, I came here mostly because my sire finally told me, "Hey, get out of the house and go do something with yourself." Uh, you can spend a lot of years in the chantry and not really realize you haven't had much interaction with the outside world. Well, maybe you can't imagine, but
Yeah, I was always so more of a free spirit, he said a little bit sardonically.
and you, Rick?
I was living outside of Boston in a suburb when I was mortal. I was embraced and briefly introduced to Kindred Society before I was bid to continue writing. And it was my third book after I was embraced that gained me the fame I have now. After that, I had the money necessary to move here to New York, where I hope to, well, get more fame.
An admirable goal. I mean, don't you find it hard, like being in the public eye? You know, you got like a. Then again, I suppose for a horror writer, it's a good little gimmick. It doesn't go out in the day.
The nature of my writing allows me to have two kinds of fans. The fans who know who I am and they read my work, and the fans who know who I am and read my work. Sort of cult following. My secretary is actually one of my biggest fans.
Oh wow, it's good you have that kind of connection with your fan base. Uh, I suppose you
It's
must be
helpful.
kind of popular. I mean, I've heard of you, and I haven't read any horror in a long time, so you must be doing something right.
Right, in New England, Stephen King is kind of the end-all, be-all uh, horror writer. It's nice to see other people making a name for themselves outside of his shadow.
Rick sort of scoffs and shakes his head at the mention of Stephen King.
No, it's he was the one. What was that movie based on a book? Oh, what was it? The
Uh,
Thing. Is that
they,
it?
yeah, that is one. There are a ton.
Yeah. But he was really inspired by that bloke. What's it? JB Love Christ.
H.P. Lovecraft?
That's the
That's the
one.
one.
I've read him for years. He was dead before my time. But I suppose when you're a horror writer, the whole cult following thing, it's just part of the image, maybe.
It does help with my situation.
I bet it does. I bet it does.
There's fans that are more amenable to the mysteries.
Oh, I see. Suppose a little bit of intrigue. People can't quite work out whether it's an act or not, sort of thing, or are they very aware?
And it also helps to drown out the conspiracy theorists.
Conspiracy theorists. Oh, I see. Yeah,
Or
yeah,
just come out during the day.
yeah. Yeah. It's easy, isn't it? These bloggers, they start talking about their crazy theories online, and if anything, it just makes them seem that little bit more mad. No offense, of course.
None taken.
So, so like, you're both new to the city. I mean, so am I. I mean, I've only been here a couple of months, but
Ah. And where did you come from before?
London.
Oh, well, I probably could have guessed, but
Yeah, yeah, the name, the accent, the whole look thing. Yeah. Um, yeah, yeah. I was from a little place called Brixton. You might know it. No.
uh,
That's fine.
uh,
You don't need to.
It's a long trip from there to here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
yeah, what brought you here?
Oh, just time for a change. You know. Heard the Camarilla had taken the city. Uh,
Oh,
Working in London too long, man. I started out on the jazz scene down there. I was a bit of a face around town, and then you get embraced, and you keep going to Ronnie Scott's. Eventually people stop playing the music you liked. Eventually the faces grow old. Eventually they don't come around anymore. And eventually you find yourself a lonely old fucker propping up a bar, staring into a glass of whiskey you can't drink, and you figure it's probably time to jump ship.
well, those days are slowly but surely coming back. You see all of these, uh, I suppose the trendsetters especially are into the vintage. I suppose what would be for us, something that we might have enjoyed in our heyday is coming back. The clothes, the whole nature of it. Even jazz, I've noticed, is making a small comeback.
He kind of scoffs a little bit. They don't do it as good as we did it. He kind of like straightens his suit out, and if a closer look, it looks like about 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it was a really really nice suit, and now it looks like it's even with a good dry clean, it would be a little bit beaten up looking, but that's kind of how he likes it. It's and kind of fold off. But still, it's good. The kids are getting into something decent. Out of all the music that's out there these days, jazz is probably the best thing they could get into. I could never get into all this boy band pop sensation thing. no talent, there's no soul, there's no balls.
Suppose that's why they tortured Frank with it.
My thoughts
Right.
exactly. I didn't mean to talk over you, sweet. What was that?
I know, I was just agreeing.
Oh, yeah. Poor Frank.
I know. Ugh,
And then he
what an
kind of
awful, awful thing.
seems to realise the gravity of the situation he's talking about, and he kind of shudders a little bit in his chair, like sort of, nasty business. Getting Frank back. I'm glad that we're gonna raid that place. That fort, a lot of bad stuff happened in there, and he kind of
Right.
slumps a little bit. Um, if you're, I mean, you're quite. You said your character's good with people reading.
Yeah, she's got pretty high.
Empathy.
She does not actually have empathy, which is something I need to start putting points into actually, because
I
I
have
kind of,
empathy.
yeah, I have a
I mean,
lot of a lot of mental.
well, like, give it a roll, like the kind of thing you'd use to read someone. I figure it might be fun, you're kind of new, and maybe it's something you haven't rolled up with yet. Because it could be useful, sort of working out how.
Empathy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yes.
Oh, fucking hell. It's like few successes.
You fidget and Rick sees your soul.
Yeah. Have you got anything? Heather?
No, I don't even know what I'd roll. I just have mostly perception, wits, intelligence.
Um,
Um,
Perception, generally, but has she got like body language or psychology or anything like that?
she has 2 dots in medicine, so she
Or,
might know a little bit about the body image.
yeah, I'll tell you what, like, good.
Awareness.
Yeah, your character's kind of good with that sort of thing. Like, yeah, use whatever you think would be proper.
Let's see. Do maybe perception and I don't know if awareness would work.
Awareness would probably work, yeah. She's kind of aware of how he's coming across. I mean, in the absence of anything else, it works. And that is like, yeah, that's 3 successes. Yeah, like, it kind of seems like the kind of cheeky chappy thing is possibly a bit of a front. Kind of when he slumps in his chair a little bit and kind of seems to have a bit of a glass half empty perception of the world, possibly he's a bit more that way inclined than he lets on. He's a little bit more jaded, perhaps, and a bit wearied by the things he might have seen, which kind of was given away when he kind of shuddered thinking about the Frank stuff. It kind of put a bit of a frown on his face, and he kind of slumps into his chair a little bit like. Um, Sorry, I'm not just masturbating my character ego. I just thought it'd be interesting.
You must have seen a lot in your time then. You were you embraced that long ago, or was this a recent thing?
59, 59. I was embraced. I was a handsome young devil back then, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Yeah. Nice. You live. I don't know. I can't imagine what it'd be like to live to the Gangrel Primogen's age. He must have seen some serious shit.
I'm not
But
even going to contemplate how old he is.
he's 500 years old, more than that. I think 509 years old.
Okay, he's got about 400 years on me.
How old are you?
130 something.
Uh,
Uh,
Here I am talking about being jaded, and you're like I mean, don't get me wrong, you look great for it, but like you like nearly double my age.
Yeah. A lot of it I spent as a ghoul. Um,
Oh,
I was
right.
I was taken from my tribe in Montana.
Tribe?
Um, yeah, you can probably tell from her the color of her skin, her nose, and just her features, her eyes. She might
Yeah.
be of Native American descent, but she'll tell you anyway. Um, I was part of the you might have heard of a tribe, Blackfoot, Native American tribe. Um, they own a few reservations now. I think in these modern times, I don't really get to go back there and see them, but I I watch them. We have the modern luxuries like internet now. Anyway, I was taken from there by my eventual sire and Gould for a good 100 years or so. And most of that time was spent in a chantry, in a library, studying, improving my skills. But you could say now that I've been sent out into the real world, I am not as great reading about something and putting things to good use in the real physical plane is not entirely the same thing. So there is, now that I've come to New York City, there's a little bit of a learning curve.
I bet it is. I bet it is. I mean, especially it's quite an action-packed time. I mean, I know I certainly didn't expect for there to be a war on when I got here. I mean,
Right.
this must be a real, like you said, a real learning curve for you. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Are you nervous?
Um, I guess you could say I'm a little bit exhausted isn't the right word. I'm not exhausted. I'm not tired. I don't get tired, but I'm definitely
Exasperated is the word you're looking
exasperated.
for.
Yeah, thank you, Rick.
And I'd
Yeah.
like a perception empathy to see if that's okay. To check sort of her body language, kind of what she puts across when she talks about it, like if she's comfortable with the situation she's in, or is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool, cool, cool. Oh, only the one success, unfortunately.
Uh, so will you get something from that or
Yeah, I mean it's a decent success. I mean, yeah, just a little bit. Like, is she kind of it was what how she described it, was that like an honest interpretation of how she's feeling, or is she feeling like a bit more nervous or apprehensive or stressed?
she's probably more stressed than she is nervous.
Hmm.
Stressed being that she's got a lot of expectation to live up to in the Chantry, in the Camarilla, the Tremere, one of the most probably disliked and stereotyped clans in the Camarilla. So she's a little bit, um, well, she's walking on eggshells.
Okay, cool. Uh, he sort of like, I mean, like barely noticeable. He kind of glances up and down her as she speaks, like just sort of checks out how she's holding herself, and then kind of slips his chair a little bit. But
Uh,
yeah, do you think you're adapting relatively well to it? I mean, must be a big change.
yeah, adapting is a good word. I'm definitely adapting to all the things happening. Being a sort of representative today while the Primogen was busy and my other clanmates were somewhere also busy. Yeah, you could say it's a little bit stressful to kind of have to do it alone.
I bet it is. But if I may say, you handled yourself incredibly well, and I make a cajoling roll to try and to sort of to boost her self-esteem. Something like that, and he wants her to like him because it's always good to have a Tremere on side.
Oh,
Roll
you're
on die.
actually rolling?
Oh yeah, it's a cajoling roll, but don't worry, I failed.
Aw.
Yeah, I know, shame, right? Yeah, the ones cancel out the successes. Yeah, so she might like what he says. It might be a nice thing to say, but she's not going to feel. It's not going to move her to her core.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice of you. I thought I handled it the best I could, so thanks.
No, it's right. Call it as I see it. Very professional. However, Rick, you didn't seem to really say much at all. You didn't really get a word in edgeways. There were so many people flapping their gums. I mean, most of all myself. I can't help myself.
I find it's healthy a lot of the time to be in the background.
Ooh, you're a lurker.
If you're not
Lurker.
perceived as a threat, then you're not a threat.
Hey, sure nobody thought each other were a threat, really. Maybe there was some subtext I didn't pick up on. You can never know with a meeting in the Camarilla.
Meeting with kindred in general. But
Yeah.
if you two would humor my curiosity, I have a question.
Sure.
If you had to
So,
sum up your experience, your idea, how you perceive the existence, your existence, how it's changed since your embrace. If you had to sum that up in one word, what word would it be?
after you, I've got to think about this.
Uh, Sue kind of just like motions to Limey, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm with him. I gotta take a minute to think about that because that's a lot of years to sum up into one word."
You might
Um,
make a perception roll on this one because what he's about to say is pretty much a blatant lie. Well, it's not a blatant lie, but it's a half truth. That's where he says opportunity.
Let's see, would it be a perception subterfuge? That makes sense, right?
I've forgotten his subterfuge is to lie or detect a lie.
Subterfuge is to lie, but if I'm trying to perceive a lie, wouldn't I be rolling perception subterfuge?
Yeah, go for it. That's cool.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, box on, man. You've been playing this game longer than I have.
What is that? 2 successes?
Yeah, that's two successes. Good successes. While there is some truth to his words, like there is no doubt that he sees it as an opportunity. In fact, actually, I'm going to roll my own subterfuge against it. Oh no, yeah,
ooh.
he sees it as a massive opportunity. This guy is a rogue of the nighttime, and the entire playground.
Good answer.
Um,
Nature versus demeanor. I'm sorry.
Sue is going to finally come up with her word, and I would say pruning.
Ooh, pruning's a great word.
Pruning, like a plant.
Yeah, sure. Uh, you snip a piece here and you snip a piece there, and it grows back healthier. Um, and it just continues to grow.
Had to make sure you didn't mean withering like a prune.
Well, I suppose there's a double meaning there.
What a class.
Nice use. What about you?
Yeah, what about you, Rick?
Yeah, what about you, Rick? He kind of leans across the table.
I'd have to agree with Limey. It's an opportunity. It's transcendence.
Yeah, yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
What can we elaborate on these words now? What kind of transcendence?
Rick hesitates and smiles, not sure if he should elaborate or not.
Can I make him elaborate?
Have you got charisma or sorry? Have you got
I've got manipulation, dominate, charisma.
I think manipulation and expression maybe to try and get him to open up.
I don't have any expression. Can I just do manipulation?
Yeah, I'm sure you can do that.
Do I have to actually say something, or do I just roll and hope that he,
You
Yeah,
already said something.
you roll
okay.
and kind of just say something to signify the roll.
What would be the difficulty?
6 usually. Bog standard
Ah,
difficulty.
one success. So she's basically trying to make him want to open up a little bit more about, oh, come on, just tell us.
Rick takes a slow breath in, thinking about how exactly he's going to word this to the uninitiated. Transcendence from bondage.
Bondage, that's another nice word. You into some kinky stuff, Rick?
He tells them to look
No,
at
I'm not
a
afraid
in the
of.
dark horse, aren't you?
What, Lemmy?
Yeah.
No, say that again.
Oh, sorry. He says bit of a dark horse, aren't you? He kind of grins.
Dark horse. It's
Oh,
appropriate if I'm a
she
horse
said
rider.
that's another nice word. It was just a joke, a bad joke, a crude joke.
Rick
Yeah.
shakes his head and smiles.
What do you mean, like transition, from bondage? What kind of bondage? What are we talking about? Like the bondage of the mind, bondage of the soul, and I'm going to try my own role to see if I can get you to open up. If that's okay with you.
Yes, just keep opening Pandora's box.
Picking a Malkavian's brain. This may not end well.
Do I want to turn on presence? Too late in the day for presents. I can ask him another time. Oh, that's 4 successes, my friend.
Ooh.
Come on, like
Prepare
transcend.
yourself.
Yeah. What now?
Bondage. Bond from everything, from reality itself. Don't you think that you're more than what's right here? And Rick will sort of reach out and touch Limey on the chest, patting his chest, his body. Don't you think you're more than that? You're ephemeral. You're an idea.
Um, I don't know, man. I'm just Limey. I'm like meat covering bone, and if you hit me hard enough, I'll turn to ash. Don't know what happens after that.
Uh, Sue is just gonna lean back during the reaching over past her and just like, okay. But she's kind of gonna look to Rick and be like, yeah, I totally agree. We're just stuck here and we're trapped. There's nothing we can do about it. But you'd think this is all a gift given to us. It's all we have to enjoy it while we can. Like she doesn't completely coincide with maybe him thinking like, oh, it's like all a prison, but she definitely like she thinks that this was a gift. Even though they're trapped here, it's a gift. It's kind of like a more spiritual perspective other than a maybe a crazy one.
Limey looks completely out of his depth. He's like kind of like nodding along with the conversation, but like sort of just glancing between them as they have like quite a deep chat. It's like he, I don't know. And then he kind of slumps back and he goes, "Either way, you got to hope there's something more than this, haven't you? Otherwise, what's the point?"
Sorry, what was the last part? I couldn't.
I said, "Oh, well, at least we can hope there's something more than this, can't we? Otherwise, what's the point?"
I think we're all a lot more than this.
Right.
Rick is sort of. There's a hint of anger, like he's almost snarling about the fact.
Huh. Now he kind of shifts a little bit towards the Tremere. Like, it's like imperceptibly, but he kind of like, yeah, yeah, totally, man. Like, yeah. Oh.
Uh, Sue's just gonna pat Lemmy on the shoulder and be like, "Don't worry, I don't think he bites. At least not hard."
Well, yeah, you'd hope he bought. I already made that joke earlier. No, I'm not going to say that. No, but. No, but he makes a point, though. But the only thing is, I think down here, like, he kind of taps the table in front of him, kind of referencing this corporeal object in front of him. He says, I think down here is, where you got to get your nut together. Do you know what I mean?
We've got to work with what we have in order to be able to break any bonds associated with what's around us.
He has opened Pandora's box and it's not going back inside. He's like, yeah, yeah, man. Like, really far out.
Sue's just gonna be like, "Oh, if only we could get our hands on some good blood. This would be even more interesting.
Some good what?
Some good blood."
Yeah, definitely. And I always find that possibly something from the Bitches Brew album is incredibly good for mentally stimulating a conversation. We should do it sometime.
Right. Pick the Malkavian's brain a bit more while we're a little bit tipsy.
Hey, what? He kind of like, but he kind of jokes, like he's laughing. I am gonna have to go in a sec, so I've just like properly getting tired. But
No, that's okay.
Limey kind of smiles and he says, "Look, did you both get my number earlier?"
Um, I think I actually forgot to get your what was it? The like she kind of like exaggerates the word the piece of paper. Like it was just like one piece of paper, right, with his number on it.
Yeah, like so other people could copy it down.
Yeah. She's gonna pull out her cell phone and hold it at the ready.
Rick will take out his cell phone and open it up, sort of showing it to Sue and pointing to the number that he jotted down earlier.
Oh,
Thank,
okay, thanks.
thank you, Rick.
She's gonna copy down the number real quick and you guys both got my cards, right?
Yeah, very professional.
Rick nods.
Rick, do I have your number?
Rick shakes his head a little and fiddles with his phone for a moment, and then after a second, Limey will receive a text message from a new number.
Brilliant. That's just, I mean, with this whole Harpy gig, I'm going to need to be in contact with everyone. So, you know, I'll be sure to hit you up. And, oh, and if you are going to do your little ward-in thing with the basement or, you know, wherever you're going to ward it, unless she's doing it for free and he kind of cranes his head while he goes on the Tremere, don't do anything for free. Let me know about the boons, yeah? I'm going to have to keep a record of them.
Naturally.
And he stands up and he tips his hat and he says, "Gentlemen, lady, it's been an absolute pleasure. However, the night draws on and I've got to get home. See you around." Kind of
Rick nods and stands as well and says, we all ought to. The sun's going to be up before too much longer.
Sue nods, sliding out of the booth and looking to Limey and kind of smiling and nodding and being like, yeah, we should totally do this again. I don't have many friends, so to speak, in the city yet, and this is fun, so.
well, I'm glad to consider you a new friend of mine. He sticks his hand out to
Oh,
be.
Well, I'll see you two both around, I'm sure.
Yeah, see you around, guys. Look after yourselves.
you too.
He kind of slopes out of the bar. And I suppose that's where we end our scene.
Yep.
Unless there's anything you guys want to do.
Um, Sue is just gonna say goodbye to Rick and be like, yeah, call me soon about that visit to your brownstone.
I will. I'll be sure to show you around, and we'll see what you can do.
Okay, great. And she's gonna part ways and head out behind the swanky Limey.
Okay, wonderful. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching.